Hello and welcome to this episode of Before You Pull featuring Nilou. Now Genshin has released Nilou's kit and we can analyze it and talk about how good it can be in the current meta and how playable it is going to be, both from a damage aspect and a fun aspect. So let's go. First off, we will be going over her kit in a quick fire fashion, as it takes a little bit to understand what is happening. So first off, the easiest part, her auto attacks are just regular auto attacks and you press L and B and they hit. Then to the most complicated part, her E skill. So Nilou's elemental skill gives you 3 stacks when you press it. Now after you've pressed it, you can either auto attack or press it again to consume a stack. And now your regular attacks deal hydro damage and apply hydro to the enemies. After 2 regular attacks, your third attack will consume the last stack. Now consuming this last stack determines what happens. If you do a regular attack, Nilou's sword will be enhanced with hydro, and for the next couple of seconds you will be able to hit enemies with a hydro enhanced sword, similar to Ayato and Chald, where every hit applies hydro to the enemies. Or you can press your elemental skill again and gain an area of effect around you where enemies constantly get hydro applied to them without you having to attack them, which is much faster in hydro application. So in short, you press your elemental skill, do 2 hydro enhanced attacks, and then choose, you attack again and you get a hydro enhanced blade. Or you press E again and you get a circle around you that constantly applies hydro. And finally, her elemental burst, which is a simple part of her kit. You press it and it does a really big hydro AoE around Nilou, with no strings attached, just a big circle for big damage. And also puts a debuff that constantly does a little bit more damage. And now onto the reason why a lot of people call Nilou niche, her passive talents. Her first passive talent is if you only have Dendro and Hydro characters in your team and you consume your third stack of your elemental skill or your E, you gain a massive stat boost in elemental mastery, and also you upgrade your bloom reaction. So you don't summon normal seeds anymore, you summon upgraded seeds, which do bigger AoE and pop much quicker, making the bloom reaction a lot stronger reaction if Nilou procs it. But this only happens if your party has Dendro or Hydro cap. We will be talking more about this, but first, the second talent is simply, for every 1000 max HP above 30,000, Nilou's course or this bloom reaction does more damage. So the more HP you have, the harder your bloom reaction can hit. So to summarize her kit really quickly. Your E skill has 3 stacks, but at your third stack, you need to either basic attack or press E again to consume it, depending on what you want. Enhanced auto attacks or more hydro application. You want to play Nilou in a team with only Dendro and Hydro, so you can constantly spam the bloom reaction and create as many seeds as you can to deal tons of reaction damage. So now, do I think Nilou is incredibly niche and do I think you should consider going for her? Well, I honestly think her kit is quite innovative and actually kind of cool. Yes, you can only slot her into a certain amount of teams because you need Dendro application and you need Hydro. So a team for her could be someone like Nilou, the Dendro Traveler, another Dendro unit like we don't have a lot right now, but like Kohli, and a healer like Kokomi, or even 3 Hydro units where you go Nilou, Dendro Traveler, Xinqiu, Kokomi, or Barbara as a replacement. I think this is quite creative, and she definitely adds a whole new playstyle to the game, even though it is restrictive between these 2 elements. I also think she has a lot of variation in her kit, with her E skill giving you the choose to either be able to deal some extra damage yourself by auto attacking, or dealing more hydro application by pressing your E skill on the third charge and getting a better form of hydro application than your auto attacks will. I also think it is really cool how she upgrades the bloom reaction to basically give it a better bloom, and so that you can really make teams focused on spamming the bloom reaction as much as possible. So, the verdict. Do I think Nilou is going to be meta? Well, that is quite difficult to find out, as Nilou is definitely a new form of unit and needs to be tested quite a bit. But I think that within her niche, she can work really well. It also depends on the enemies, but if the enemies are weak to either Hydro or Dendro, and you could just spam that bloom reaction, I think she will lay destruction upon them. Do I think she's going to be fun? I think absolutely. I think Hoyoverse was actually quite creative with this kit. They've got a lot of choices for the player to make, and I think upgrading the bloom reaction is going to be a ton of fun. So dear viewer, when should you consider her? Well, if you already have a lot of Dendro and Hydro units built that you can slot in a team with her, and you like how Nilou looks and you don't mind gameplay where you have to make choices constantly and it isn't really a relaxed chugging along, I would 100% recommend Nilou. When should you not pull Nilou? Well, if you don't really like having just Hydro and Dendro together and you like a bit of a more straightforward character or you just don't like such a restrictive team, well then I would not pull Nilou. But for now, I actually think Hoyoverse did quite a good job on her kit. I think it's creative, a bit restrictive, but all in all, upgrading Bloom into like big seeds is just quite cool. In general, I'm satisfied with how they made her and I'm excited for when she comes out, and I hope you are too.